thank you so much for being with us today. We wanted to put together this first episode to discuss first about the trends that are influencing and will influence businesses in Canada for the next couple of months, 2023, and two, specifically relevant to FlashBox, to discuss what is happening on the last mile delivery front, specifically how to control supply chain issues and have a plan to battle against the rising costs of deliveries across the board. So I'm gonna first start by introducing myself and give you a background. We will then talk a little bit, as mentioned, about the trends affecting generally businesses in terms of price inflation and delivery costs, and then we'll dive deep into the different specific trends influencing our industry. So just a little bit of an overview about myself. My co-founder and I have been in this last mile delivery business for the past 10 years. We, prior to FlashBox, had very successfully launched and scaled one of the largest logistics company in the Middle East. So for you to have an idea, we created a company back in 2015 in the Middle East, and we ran it for five and a half years. We scaled it up to 150,000 deliveries a day. So to put that into context, we needed close to 20,000 drivers to process that sort of volume. We managed to create such a scale by implementing a couple of basic solutions. One, and as we'll discuss a lot today, predictable and as flat as possible pricing. Two, really good technology that allowed people to follow and track the drivers, and ultimately integrations with a number of tools that allowed businesses to interact with our platform. So we've started FlashBox 2 years ago now, but we've come with a lot of experience already scaling successfully a business in this logistics space. Now, to talk a little bit about concerns or trends, sorry, about generally how people feel in our industry and in the larger economy. Of course, all of you have seen and experienced and felt the massive impact of inflation, of course, via various channels, whether it's directly with the gas prices, indirectly with the goods and items that you need to get and supply to your company in order to function. And also, you know, we're seeing a lot of inflation across the board from a last mile perspective in our case. So, but to add to this, I have to mention both in the case of businesses that are looking for capital, a lack of capital, and of course, a much more expensive situation when it comes to interest rates, which has affected dramatically, generally the financial environment, and therefore access to what was arguably for a couple of years free capital. Now, in our specific discussion today, what I want to focus on will be the shipping costs or delivery costs, and also something quite interesting and maybe less predictable is an increasing expectation by customers, recipients as we call them, for continuously faster delivery, better reliability, and in general, a better user experience. Now, when it comes to delivery trends, what we are seeing a lot, and we're in discussions with so many merchants, various players in the 3PL space, people in the specifically fulfillment side of things, it's really a question of transparency across the board. I mean, there are a number of items on the list here, but I would definitely highlight the transparency matter before every other item, and transparency both from a merchant's perspective, whereby merchants want to know end to end what goes on with their parcel from the moment the item gets picked up from their facility all the way to the moment basically that the item gets delivered to the recipient. As I'll talk later in the presentation, we have since the beginning of FlashBox made a lot of effort in order to provide a Uber-like, if I could say, or food delivery-like user experience for the merchant in question or the shipper, and most importantly, the recipient. Because we've seen that sort of traceability, transparency in the shipping process is really one of the winning factors in both keeping the customers happy and allowing them to order more, and therefore increase the long-term value of that customer for the merchant in question. So I would associate transparent shipping with real-time tracking. These are two elements that are now going hand in hand. And of course, with the improvements in terms of equipment, the fact that we've got a lot more features added to our platform, and generally all the other companies, there is a lot of expectation that everyone should offer full transparency as to exactly where my parcel is at each moment in time. We can also discuss, of course, about the delivery speed problem or challenge. There's been naturally for the past 10 years an increasingly more difficult challenge to face for everyone in the industry, both from a service provider, which is what FlashBox is doing, and also from a merchant's perspective, in order to offer faster and faster deliveries. Again, as we'll see later in the presentation, there are a number of macro trends that have influenced this change in behavior. About the other three items that we've put in the list here, which are basically the autonomous delivery matter, sustainable deliveries, and micro-fulfillment centers, these are emerging trends. These are important trends for everyone to pay attention to. As most of you have seen, the autonomous delivery side of things, whether it's small robots or small vehicles that are, using sidewalks to deliver items within very small radiuses in large cities, or much larger vehicles that we have seen being developed for middle mile or even trucking industry being slowly disrupted by potential autonomous alternatives. I would say that in our case, from an execution perspective, such solutions have not yet reached full maturity for us to be able to replace, so to say, the driver fleet that we are currently using, the human fleet that we are using. There are, of course, as most of you have seen, a lot of discussions about OpenAI and ChatGPT and how AI can influence this. And of course, I think there's going to be a lot of impact from a software perspective into the improvement of autonomous delivery. But still to this day, this is an emerging, fast-changing trend. We left with sustainable delivery and micro-fulfillment. So let's tackle the micro-fulfillment centers question first. This word became quite fashionable with the rise of quick commerce companies. If you've seen these companies that have raised billions of dollars during the pandemic, Getir, GoPuff, a number of them since have closed in the US. There is still a lot of them popping up in the European context. The initial impetus to discuss about micro-fulfillment centers came for those type of companies that were promising 15-minute, 30-minute super fast deliveries. And in order to reach those types of KPIs, they had to establish small micro-fulfillment centers in city centers, as opposed to the model that we in FlashBox have been used to, which are basically very large warehouses in the outskirts of cities for us to be able to either sustain same-day or next-day deliveries. But the micro-fulfillment center trend is something that will stay beyond the grocery business. There are many, many interesting companies right now developing automated micro-fulfillment solutions within city centers and going beyond the grocery or fast consumer good type of items into e-commerce. So a trend that we are also looking at for a faster or rather more efficient delivery process, and that automatically opens up the discussion about sustainable delivery. One of the big troubles for most logistics companies, last mile delivery companies like ourselves, is to really marry the challenges of fast, reliable, and affordable delivery with the problem of, or with the challenge of sustainability. So how can we have a fleet of drivers using vehicles, whether these are traditional sedans or vans or even sometimes truck, that respect the environment while also coming up with a solution to tackle the challenge of speed, reliability, and consistency, and everything on top of it an affordable price. So I think, like FlashBox, many companies are attempting to gradually shift the fleet towards sustainable vehicles with hybrid fleets and electric vehicles. But again, this will be a challenge that one can face seriously once there are credible, low-priced vehicles available for our drivers to use in order to fulfill the orders. So, but I think the real trend this year will be an increased transparency and real-time traceability, and of course, continuously expanding expectation of delivery speed. So let's discuss a little bit about last mile delivery and basically why it matters. I think what we've all experienced personally as customers buying from platforms such as Amazon, and generally the trend with the Uberization of the online space with food delivery platform is that speed matters. And speed matters because people will compare your ability to deliver a parcel within a certain period of time to the experience they would get in order to satisfy their urge for that specific items if they had to go themselves in the offline world and buy it from a store. And I think the biggest change or shift in mentality that has happened in the past 5 years, and that was accelerated by the pandemic, was the fact that people now expect same day as a matter of default. Amazon Prime has, of course, been the main driver of this huge shift in customer and consumer behavior. And people have now, by default, had to adapt. And I think it's worth mentioning here that this was probably the biggest reason why we at FlashBox attempted to do what we are currently doing. And I think we successfully presented to the market a modern day solution that allows anyone, regardless of shipping volume, as opposed to what they had to commit to people like UPS or FedEx or Canada Post, without commitment, being able to offer the best same-day delivery experience to anyone within the cities that we have been covering, Toronto, Vancouver, and Calgary at this stage. So wherever you look, whatever articles you read, and whenever you speak to merchants, two things are pretty clear every time: that delivery speed indeed matters, and that people are willing to pay a little bit extra to get that speed, but also that just the experience of having an option to get items delivered same day massively increases the probability for the shopping cart to not be abandoned and for the purchase to actually happen when the need is there from a purchasing perspective. So right now, a number of people in the market are offering faster solution, but we at FlashBox have been able to merge, so to say, the speed question, the pricing matter, and the user experience. Just to talk a little bit about fundamentals, I think most people understand by now that last mile is indeed the majority of where the costs go when you look at your shipping costs in general. We've ended up with a number of 53%. Sometimes this goes up as high as 75%, depending on the cities you're active in, depending on the distances that drivers have to go. And also, very importantly, it's influenced massively by the success rates. This number of 53% is a cost which will be related to a delivery successful from the first attempt. And again, as we'll see in a little bit, one of the big challenges is to make sure the quality of the delivery is so high, the success rates are so high, that the platform can guarantee pretty close to 100% first-time delivery success rate, which will then basically go back to the customers, to the merchants, as lower shipping costs. Because the more successful we are as a shipping platform in delivering from the first time, the easier and the better it is and the cheaper it is for customers using FlashBox as a solution. So the current situation in the market is on average around $10 for a last mile delivery solution. And we have positioned FlashBox lot lower than that, thanks to a lot of different technologies that we've been implementing and still have a lot to do in terms of optimization. But already we're well on our way to changing completely the paradigm in the market currently. So I guess we can break it down into a couple of components. So how to exactly cut the last mile delivery costs. So of course, and let's start with the easy one, or rather the cliche answer: flat rate shipping. We've introduced flat rate pricing because we think there's no reason for the industry generally to be such an opaque industry when it comes to pricing. Surcharges, whether it's fuel surcharges, peak season surcharges, residential surcharges, you name them. I mean, sadly, the incumbents in the industry have gotten used to pushing to the merchants these very, very high costs that unfortunately there is no getting out of unless there's a modern day shipping solution like FlashBox that comes into play. So for us, the number one item was to create transparency and clarity and move away from the opaque pricing system. So that's number one. As mentioned before, a conjunction or combination of a number of items that will help us as a shipping platform in reducing the failed deliveries will become or transform into lower shipping costs automatically for our merchants. Why? The higher, as mentioned earlier in the previous slide, success rates I have, the lower my cost of delivery, because every redelivery costs me a lot of money. How do I do this? Live tracking, so that my team, the support team, understands which driver is doing what delivery at what point in time and when deliveries are about to happen. So predictability. Getting proof of delivery and making sure that basically customers confirm receipt. And I think this is generally in the more generic term, understanding the requirements of the recipient and respecting those requirements, whether it's a proof of delivery from a picture or PODs, to getting signatures, to checking IDs. So what we, again, are attempting here at FlashBox is to predict what is required from a recipient perspective and make sure it's executed correctly, to, again, go back to my increased delivery success rates number. One of the strategies that we have been recommending to a lot of our merchant partners since the start of FlashBox was to basically use a transport management system. They can also be referred to as rate shopping platform. And we've had quite a lot of success with a number of these platforms, whether it's ShipStation or any of the other solutions out there in the market. Because as all of you on the discussion here know, we at FlashBox offer same-day delivery within a certain geographical area, whether it's GTA, GVA, Calgary, and soon other cities in Canada. But of course, you know, as a shipper, you have to send items to probably a lot of other cities within Canada and maybe cross-border. And those cities are not covered by FlashBox. So one of the best solutions to mix and have a hybrid shipping solution will be to integrate or use TMS, as we call it in our industry, and therefore have access to the best rates, both with FlashBox and also with other players in the industry, where FlashBox does not offer a delivery solution. And usually that's been a very efficient way. And one of the main reasons why TMS platforms have had such a success in the past probably decade or so, because they have become quite handy for a lot of merchants and shippers to maximize the quality companies they work with while minimizing their delivery costs. And another item and a strategy that we've been implementing gradually, at least in Toronto and Vancouver, has been local delivery, or rather local pickups. So in order to decrease costs for some of our smaller merchants, we've now partnered with an entity called Penguin Pickup, and we now offer the ability for anyone within Toronto or Vancouver to ship a single item same day, as long as you take care of the drop-off to one of our hubs, as we call them, FlashBox hubs. Meaning, instead of us dispatching a driver, you basically can yourself take your item to one of our many local delivery or drop-off spots, and then we will aggregate volume in those locations, take them back to our facility, and then basically your item gets mixed with every other parcel. But this means instead of having minimum costs and minimum shipping volumes, you have no minimum shipping volume and can benefit from FlashBox's solution from as low as a single parcel. So this is a very high-level overview, but this is how we are helping in making sure at least we participate in reducing the cost of deliveries. So this might be something that every one of us has experienced, and we kind of feel it. But of course, you know, rise in e-commerce, we've had a huge acceleration during the pandemic. It's still ongoing, albeit at a lower speed. But this is something that no one can ignore for the next probably 2 or 3 decades. So we are in a massive mega trend where e-commerce will continuously increase its percentage as part of overall retail sales. The pressure coming from mainly Amazon and its Prime product has been really, according to all experts, the main impetus behind this shift in consumer behavior towards faster delivery. I would say here, I mean, looking at the latest events at Amazon and how they're now downsizing a lot of their activities, whether at the fulfillment center side of things, or even in terms of cost cutting, and even sales flattening for the first time in their history, that we are now, or we have already reached the maximum speed at which people basically will get serviced by Amazon. Another very important thing to note that I read a couple of days ago is the introduction by Amazon for the grocery side of things of a delivery fee, even for its Prime members. So regardless of you being Prime member or not, something unprecedented was announced by Amazon and will be effective from the 1st of February for the US Prime members, is a delivery fee, even, again, as a Prime member, which completely changes the principle of what Prime was for. But there's a reason. Even Amazon, with this enormous scale and basically access to pretty much every location in the US, has to start charging for deliveries. This entire, what I call lie or charade that was used by Amazon in order to deliver items free was simply not sustainable. It's a very similar strategy that has been used for many, many years in the food delivery business or grocery delivery business, where people basically offer discounts in order to woo customers. But we all know with the failure of most of these fast delivery businesses that they never make money. And therefore, I think we've reached peak and we're past peak fake deliveries in our industry, which is hugely important and very good news, because now we're going to start seeing how businesses truly differentiate themselves based on their technology, their operation, and their know-how. And people will have to pay for deliveries, but the better you are at organizing your delivery schedules, the faster you are in processing those deliveries and those parcels at the sorting level, and the better your technology, the lower the costs. So we've got a lot of projects for 2023. There are enormous challenges ahead for us. We are experiencing a lot of growth in terms of volume and both, of course, geographic expansion. But we are proud of two things: that we have extremely high success rates, and the numbers talk for themselves. More than 99% on-time deliveries. Although we've had periods with a little bit more pressure during the peak season, we now have usually, I would say, less than 5 minutes, sometimes during the day, less than 2 minutes wait when it comes to support, which we think is critical in continuously improving and strengthening the relationships with our merchants. We've been offering from the beginning parcel insurance, as mentioned, proof of delivery, ID check, no fuel surcharge, and most importantly, I think what differentiates FlashBox is our flat rate pricing across all postal code and FSAs, and two, an industry best when it comes to live delivery notification and tracking. And we're really attempting to push with even more transparency on the pricing and on the whereabouts of the parcels. To very quickly take you through these few items, how do we do this? We've got a lot of technology in-house, and we think that we're as much a tech company as a logistics / operationally heavy company. So our dashboards are allowing us to monitor live everything happening from a delivery standpoint. And we offer most of this visibility to our merchants. Number two, we've been adamant from day one that we will only work with as highly professional a fleet as possible. How do we do this? Massive amounts of background checks, training, and constant monitoring. There are certain KPIs that our fleet needs to abide to and respect, and whoever does not ends up not working with FlashBox anymore. And this has allowed us to both scale rapidly because of the environment we've created for the drivers, but also keep the standard extremely high. And what we've now seen for the past couple of months is that this has created a positive culture where every driver influences the next driver to be as diligent as possible with our customers' parcels. The other two items, and I think these are very high on our agenda for 2023, are, of course, improvements at our sorting facilities. So we have a sorting facility in each location we're active in. And at this stage, we have the ability to sort parcels on a 3-second per parcel average. And this number keeps improving based on implementation of better tools, faster labeling processes, and of course, a better trained staff. Ultimately, this industry, as most of you know, is based on density. The higher the volume we process, the better the routes we create, and the cheaper the deliveries. And that's why we think we're just at the beginning. I mean, we are expecting at least a 10 to 15x increase in the volume of parcels we process this year, which will result in extremely dense bundles or package routes that we create. And that will, in turn, allow us to improve continuously on the pricing, which is indeed completely opposite to what the industry trend is in general. So all of this participates in making FlashBox a unique proposal, and we think a company that's here to stay, and really we're presenting ourselves as a new alternative to the traditional carriers. So this was a relatively short overview of what we believe were the big trends that will influence the economy in general this year. As mentioned, for us, the name of the game is to keep transparency as high as possible and continuously improve on our service, and hopefully pass on the cost benefits that we will see thanks to the implementation of better technology, higher density, and ultimately a better platform. On this note, we if there's no other question, if there's no question, I will finish this presentation, and hopefully we will. I think there's maybe one question here. About the TMSs, we've worked with a number of them at this stage. One of the most successful relationships we have is with ShipStation. We also have other platforms such as Machul. It really depends on the type of interaction you're expecting, and also the volume that you're expecting to ship. I would say that ShipStation has so far been the easiest and the best solution out there, simply because of the diversity of partners they have and the intuitive interaction or interface. But yeah, I guess on our platform at this stage, we are finishing integrations with EasyPost. They're more of a US player. We have Machul, and we have finished our integration with a platform called Tech Dynamics. These are, at this stage, some of the best platforms that we would recommend. One of the questions also we have here, what cities are we operating in today? We have Toronto up and running, of course, our main city, Vancouver up and running, Calgary up and running. We will be launching Montreal, hopefully, within the next month and a half. There are also discussions for us to get Edmonton up and running in the second quarter of the year. And that will probably be the cities we'll cover for the foreseeable future in the country, unless we see specific demand arising from places like Ottawa or others. But I think by the end of Q2, we'll have a good coverage of more than 50% of the Canadian population in the cities that we will be actively providing coverage in. There's also a question related to our ability to do intercity. We've had an extremely good experience, or prototype, I should say, for intercity shipments, meaning you are fulfilling orders out of Toronto, but you do have, of course, sales happening in, say, Vancouver. Would FlashBox help you in that case? And the answer is yes. We have right now no official product to help intercity, but we have had a number of pilot programs with some of our biggest shippers, whereby we would pick up, let's say today, items for both Vancouver and Toronto. Your Toronto item, of course, would be delivered same day before 9:30 p.m. Your Vancouver item would be shipped overnight via plane and our freight partners. They would land in Vancouver the next morning, and we will handle the delivery in Vancouver the next day. So, one-day delivery overnight to Vancouver. We will extend the program to Calgary and to the other cities. The interesting point, and we've realized that there is an enormous opportunity for us to help shippers, is that we could offer this next day delivery for $10, $10 to $15, depending on the weight, which again is unprecedented. No one has offered this sort of pricing. And this goes back to my slide about the last mile delivery costs. The bulk of delivery costs come from last mile. And if you add first mile, which is what also FlashBox handles, we end up at around 80%. So because FlashBox internally is handling first and last mile, we end up with a product automatically cheaper and with higher visibility than all our competitors. So I think for those of you on the call, it's very important to know that we will be launching officially an intercity solution in the next couple of months, and that will really revolutionize what people have been experiencing so far. People have asked, how do we sign up for your service? You simply go on our website, and there is a sign-up form, and you can simply start processing your order same day. We usually have a process for you to also speak to a sales agent if you have a specific question, but the process is extremely straightforward. What else we can do? There's a question also to finish off about the traceability of our drivers. It's very simple. We have a driver app, FlashBox driver app, which we are improving and releasing new updates on a pretty much weekly basis. That has the ability for us to track everything related to the driver's journey, the routes that the driver has taken, the drops and the time and the location of the exact drops, and of course everything that goes with the proof of delivery side of things. So we really believe that we've so far developed the most transparent and visible journey from both a merchant and recipient perspective. And if you check the reviews, I think they speak for themselves on the various platforms, whether it's on Google, on Shopify. So the step one, we believe at FlashBox, has been completed. We've successfully created an alternative, a modern day alternative to the traditional carriers. And we're now entering step two, which is to expand quite rapidly the geographical coverage, and at the same time, massively take massive higher amounts of parcels into our sorting facilities, which will improve the experience for everyone. I will stop it here. We're exactly at the 30-minute mark. I thank you so much. Sorry for the couple of people that joined early and there was a problem with the sound. We'll make sure that everything is okay for the next session, and hopefully we'll continue helping all of you and grow all together in the couple of months and years ahead. Thank you so much, and bye.